Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and joining us today is John Ribeiro. Hi, John.
Hey, Sonia. How are you?
I am great. We're very happy to have John here. He's going to be talking about how to master your job interview mindset, and he is surely a master at it. So I'm really looking forward to his presentation. So John, before I let you dive into your presentation, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that they are all on listen only mode. So we won't be able to hear anyone, but John will take your questions towards the end of his presentation. For that, please hold your questions till the end and type them into the Q&A tab. And for best results, please use a laptop or a desktop computer. If you are using mobile devices such as cell phones or tablets, the best thing to do is to download the Zoom app for best quality. And all of our webinars are always recorded, so you will receive a recording within the next 48 hours. But this webinar, you can, the link that you used today to join turns into a recording link after a few hours. So if you don't want to wait 48 hours for the email, you can just rewatch it and feel free to share it with your network as well. And your feedback is always appreciated. So please do submit the survey at the end. Just to tell you a little bit about ACCESS, we've been around for over 30 years helping job seekers such as yourself. We were able to serve over 34,000 job seekers in the past year. We work with over 2,200 employer connections, different community partners, sponsors, and different organizations that help newcomers and people who are looking for work. We have over 30 tailored programs, which include our sector-specific bridging programs as well. We've got 7 locations in the GTA, but currently we are serving everybody online, so you don't need to commute. I know a lot of people would have to commute from Scarborough to Mississauga to take a program. You can do it from the comfort of your own home right now. So go to our website, check out all the programs that we have to offer right now. So John, I'll stop sharing and you can share yours right now.
Thank you, Sonia. Just give me a second here. All right, just give me a minute. Okay. Terrific. Well, thank you, Sonia. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you everybody for joining today. I'm so excited to be here. I've been at, I've done a couple of webinars with ACCESS Employment in the past, and I'm really happy that I get to be here again this year to share some information with you. What we're going to be doing as we go through this workshop is there's some work that's involved, so it's not just passive. You're not just going to be listening. You're actually going to be participating and doing some of those exercises, and I'm really excited for that because we really have, you know, the goal is to walk out of this workshop with some tangible information that you can use and implement and really use to your advantage when you're going into the interview. The one thing I found is when people are going through the interview, and I've had the fortune of coaching several candidates through the interview process, the one thing I've always found is the one thing they need to master if you're going to be successful in the interview is your mindset. So as we go through today's session, you know, there's a couple of things I'm going to invite you to do, and I got some ground rules. So the ground rules are pretty simple. Number one is keep an open mind. There's going to be things I'm going to invite you to do that might seem a little bit, I'm not going to say crazy, but I'm going to say maybe a little bit uncomfortable because they're not things that you would normally do. But the one thing I do know is growth happens when you expand yourself and you take yourself out of your comfort zone to try something new. The other thing I'm going to invite you to do is give yourself permission to play. As we go through this, you know, the beauty is we're at home. I would, you know, if I was doing this in a normal workshop setting, we would be in a room together and we would be doing this. And I know some people don't necessarily feel comfortable with that, but you are at home. You are behind a screen. Nobody can see what you're doing. So we are, I'm going to trust that you're taking in the work and you're doing the exercises so you can get the benefit out of it. And the third thing I'm going to invite you to do is just to have some fun as we go through this. I gave Sonia a little sample in terms of what we're going to be doing today. She's like, wow, that's different. And I'm going to invite you guys to just be open to it, have some fun as we go through this, because I got a special bonus at the end for you, one that I know during the time of COVID, a lot of people could take advantage of. So I am going to share that, but you're going to have to stick around to the end to hear what that is. So just a little bit about me and why I'm here today. As Sonia mentioned in the introduction, I am a career coach. I've been coaching candidates, especially a lot of newcomers from outside of Canada, in Canada, to land jobs here. And the one thing I'm very passionate about is I get the fortune, I consider myself privileged to be able to do that type of work and to serve this community. Myself and my partner, I do have a partner who is also a newcomer. I'm not a newcomer, but my partner is a newcomer to Canada. And what we've done over the last 4 years is really compile and put the best information around what it takes to be successful. And in that journey to figure that out, one of the things that I've done personally is I've gone out and I've gotten certifications in terms of, I'm a certified leadership coach. I'm also a neuro-linguistic master practitioner. So the things I'm going to be showing you today are things that I've learned through that, and also things that I've done with my clients that have helped them become successful. So as we go through this workshop today, there's going to be a couple of things I'm going to invite you to do again. They're going to be a little bit different than what you would normally do, but I can guarantee you that if you do them, you are going to get some really good results. So in terms of our agenda, your takeaways, what you're going to get from this workshop today is understanding mindset, why it's important. I'm going to share 5 strategies, and then I'm going to have a little challenge for you where I'm going to have my bonus mentioned at the end of the webinar. So I'm going to share that with you. So what is mindset? And some of you might be wondering, what is mindset? So mindset is the establishment of set attitudes held by somebody. So when it comes to, thinking about work and thinking about interviews and just thinking about the whole interview process, the one thing I've found is, there are people out there that have limiting beliefs or mindsets in and around the job search process. So I did a little bit of research, and what came up as the top 5 limiting mindsets when it came to job search is, maybe some of this is true for you. I know, myself years ago when I was going through the interview process, I thought about, there's no jobs out there. It's the one thing I kept telling myself. And what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, especially with candidates and some of my clients reaching out to me, are they're lining up interviews, and they're going to interviews, not just one, they're going to multiple interviews. So there are jobs out there. The other thing I've also seen is I don't have the skills and experience. I've seen that that job isn't for me, or nobody wants me in that job, or nobody wants to hire me, which is another negative limiting mindset. And the last one is I'm never going to get my dream job. And this is especially, I find very relevant for a lot of the newcomers that are here in Canada. They're looking for a job that was equivalent to what they were doing back home. And what they've seen in terms of information and what's out there is that, what they read is, or hear from other family members, is that it's very tough to get a job in your field. It's very tough to bridge what back home and what you're doing here, and you'll have to work some sort of survival job. And the one thing I can tell you is that it's not necessarily true. I know that's true because you're here today, you're learning from ACCESS Employment. I know Sonia mentioned there's several bridging programs that help you bridge your experience and knowledge from where you were back home to what it is here in Canada. And it's really understanding that and working that. So how I know this works and why I believe this is true is I get to, one of the things I also do that I didn't mention in my introduction is I have a podcast. So I get to interview candidates that have been successful in the job search process. Here I have just 3 examples, but if you click on the link and you go to my podcast link, you'll find other examples of other newcomers that have come to Canada and have been successful in landing jobs in their field of work. Vinil is in supply chain. Alexander works in the energy sector, and Bassam is an engineer. And what they've been able to do and what we did through the interview is really dig out a little bit of their mindsets in terms of what helped them be successful. And the one thing that we saw with them is that they were very hopeful and they were very focused in terms of what they were doing with their job search. Vinil only had 4 interviews before he got a job. Alexander had 4 interviews before he had a job. And Bassam got a job in Canada before he even arrived here. Essentially, he arrived on I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday, and he was working on a Monday. So I'm going to invite you to go check out those podcasts because you're going to hear it from them. You're not going to hear it from me. you get the proof. And the one thing I'm always looking for is proof. How does this work? How do these candidates become successful in such a in such a short time? And most of them have been able to get jobs within 4 to 6 weeks, in some cases 8 weeks, but it's 8 weeks with when they concentrate their efforts to really become successful through that process. So go check out those podcasts, because you're going to find a lot of great information there. And we do touch on mindset as well, because that's the thing that I know that's incredibly important. So what I have noticed, and here's a short list of, success mindsets, is, I'm not afraid. I'm excited for what's ahead. I'm responsible for the life that I create. I embrace challenges because I always find a way to overcome them. The past is who I was, the present is who I am, and the future is who I will become. My vulnerability gives me strength and fuels my belief in me. And these are the mindsets that these 3 individuals carried as they went through their job search process. They never gave up hope. They kept fighting, they kept striving, and eventually they thrived in getting the jobs that they wanted in the field that they were looking for. So I'm going to invite you to just put in the chat, because I want you guys to participate as well. Do you agree? Do you believe that a positive mindset can help you? Can a strong mindset help you be more confident? Will a positive mindset help you in the interview? And can a positive mindset help you get hired? So just take a second. I'd love to see your responses in the chat. And yeah, let's put that in there. I see a couple of Q&As. Oh, sorry. I know some people are dropping it into the Q&A. So yes, I see a yes. Terrific. Thank you. I see another yes. Yes, yes. Oh, great. Yes. It helps to stay. It helps to stay from getting nervous. Absolutely. Definitely. And yes, sure. Absolutely. So great responses. Thank you, everybody. It is true. So the one thing I have seen when it comes to helping people become successful in their job search is really carrying this mindset. So what we're going to focus on today is really the 5 strategies. I'm going to share 5 strategies with you on how that's done. And, and these strategies are strategies that I've learned through some of the certifications I've learned, through programs that I've taken, but it's also through courses that I've attended. So I'm going to share that with you. So if you want to change your mindset, one of the first things you have to do is change your physiology. And when you change your physiology, it brings more energy and it brings more confidence into what you do. Amy Cuddy did a full study on this. She wrote a book called Presence, Bringing Your Boldest Self to Your Biggest Challenges. And what I've included here is a link to her TED Talk. I'm going to invite you to go check it out, because she talks about the link between your physiology and your psychology. And when you merge the two together, what ends up happening is you become a completely different person, but in a way that's true and authentic to you. The one thing that we never want, she talks about fake it till you make it. But the truth is, you're not faking anything, because these are things that are already inside of you. These are things that you're just bringing out. You're just finding another way to do that. And if you think about, somebody that doesn't have a lot of confidence, you can only imagine what they would start to look like. They would be somebody with their shoulders hanging forward, their head down. They would have a look on their face of not necessarily being happy. They would just have this disappointed aura around them. And what I find is when a lot of candidates are nervous, what ends up happening is they bring those nerves into the interview with them. And, if you just make minor tweaks and adjustments, you can actually, show up as a completely different person, somebody who's a little bit more confident, somebody with a little bit more energy, and somebody that really wants to have and shows excitement for the job that you're applying for. And this is the part that I find a lot of our clients we've had the fortune to work with have done that. They've changed their physiology. I have a whole podcast where I interview my neurolinguistic trainer who talks about body language and how your body language can really have a big impact on the person that you're interviewing with. And you think about it right now I'm standing, so I've changed my physiology to bring more energy to this presentation. And if I were sitting down, I would automatically have lesser energy because I'm not bringing my entire body into it. So when you bring your entire body into it, you change the energy level that you're bringing to the interview. And that's what we want, right? That's what, that's what's going to make you stand out from all the other candidates that are out there that are not doing these particular techniques or not doing these strategies to elevate themselves, to bring themselves more energy. So what we're going to do a little bit of work, but what I want you to do, or what I'm going to invite you to do, is on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel right now? So if you were, I'm going to say right now I'm at like a 7 or 8, but I'm going to invite you just to drop it into the chat or into the Q&A where you are in terms of your energy. Are you a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or 5? I just want to set a baseline in terms of where we are. And then after we do this exercise, we'll do another quiz in terms of where you are in terms of numbers to see how this might have changed for you. So just if you can, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? Do you feel like a 5 or 6 in terms of your energy? Do you feel like a 5 or 6 in terms of just how you feel in general? So some of the responses are coming in. Terrific, 7, 6, 9, because I'm self-motivated and positive thoughts. Way to go. I love it. I see a couple of other 6s coming in. So terrific. So what I'm going to invite you to do, and I love this part, what I'm going to invite you to do is just to stand up right now. And Amy Cuddy in her book, she talks about the superhero pose. So what I'm going to invite you to do is just stand up, put your hands on your hips, just like a superhero would, Superman, Superwoman, with just your hands on your hips. And what we're going to do is we're just going to hold it. So what this is going to do is it's going to increase your testosterone, which is great because that's going to bring up your confidence level. It's also going to reduce your stress hormone and cortisol levels by 25%. So when we talk about nervousness, we talk about not feeling comfortable in an interview room, this is going to decrease this. What it's also going to do is it's going to increase your risk tolerance by 33%. So you taking a chance and doing things you wouldn't normally do, that's going to increase. So we're going to hold this for 2 minutes. Just hold the superhero pose for 2 minutes. Because the one thing that Amy Cuddy talks about is if you hold this just for 2 minutes, you should start to feel a difference. You'll feel more confident, you'll feel better, you'll feel more energetic, and you just feel more alive. And, just a short story, as I was getting into my speaking career, this is one of the exercises I would do every time I got up on a big stage. So, when I would get up in front of 300-400 people, you can only imagine how nervous somebody could get by doing that. So what I would do is I would run off into the bathroom and I would just run into one of the stalls and I would just hold this superhero pose for 2 minutes and sometimes longer. So depending on how much nerves I had and how nervous I was about presenting and speaking in front of a large audience, I would just hold it longer. We're going to do 2 minutes here, but what I found is, the longer I held this, the better I started to feel. And what you'll start to feel in yourself, if you straighten up your chest and your back and you just stand up tall and strong, you'll start to feel a little bit different. We'll just give this, we just got a few more seconds to go. 2 minutes seems like a long time, but it's not. A lot of people wait in line for coffee for 10 or 15 minutes. And just imagine if there was a line at the coffee shop where everybody was doing the superhero pose. That would be an incredibly funny scene to imagine. But, today people wear masks in line. So that is something that we wouldn't think was possible a few years ago, but now is the norm. So as you hold this, what I'm also going to invite you to do is just take a deep breath in. Good. Just got a few more seconds to go. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot more energized, a lot more jazzed than I was when I first started. So excellent. 3 more seconds, 2, 1. Excellent. So what I'm going to invite you to do now in the same Q&A, drop a number. How do you feel? If you were a 6 before, where are you now? If you were a 7 before, how are you now? If you were a 9 before, how are you feeling now? Did I, increase that just by a little bit? So I'd love to just have you go in the chat. Just, wow, 10. Excellent. Love it. So from a 9 to a 10. What about everybody else that mentioned something in the chat? Just drop me a number. I'd love to see where you're at. Excellent. Great. So yeah, so did you feel a difference? Did you get some good energy just from doing that little pose? And just imagine if you took it and you held it for just a little bit longer, where would you be? How would you feel? So that's the first strategy when it comes to your job search. Before you walk into the interview room, and if you're doing it virtually, you can just do it off camera and then go back on camera and do that as a way of just bringing up your energy level. And the one thing I found with the clients that I've worked with, when they do this, they feel different and it brings a different energy. It allows them to bring a more confident self to the interview room, which makes a huge difference when they're connecting with the hiring manager on the other side of the table. Excellent. So that is strategy number one. Strategy number two is tearing up your limiting beliefs. You know, I talked about limiting beliefs at the beginning, but I want to do an exercise here that I found incredibly empowering when it comes to limiting beliefs. And, you know, people ask me, so where do limiting beliefs come from? Well, they come from everywhere. You know, when it comes to job seekers, the one thing they do is they go to their friends and family and ask them for advice around jobs and how to get jobs in Canada, or just get jobs in general. And, you know, depending on that person's experience, it can taint your experience of what you're going to have. So what I've seen is, you know, speaking to some of the clients that we've worked with, they'll go to their friends and family, they'll say, you know, it's really tough to get jobs in Canada, nobody's hiring, nobody wants to hire a newcomer, you know, they say my experience isn't relevant enough. And this is the type of thoughts that they end up carrying in their mind as they go into the interview room. So that's just one place you get it from. The other places you get it from is, you know, where you grew up and the institutions that you go to and the groups that you hang out with. They have a certain mindset and a certain belief around certain things, and those things get passed on to you. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, you end up taking it in. And the thing is, the more time you spend with negative and disempowering beliefs, the more it starts to stick. And it doesn't stick consciously, it sticks unconsciously. So, you know, in the back of your mind, in your unconscious mind, these are the things that are playing over and over again as you're going through the interview. Give me a second, apologies for that. And what you find is, you know, these are the things that you carry into the interview room with you. And the last part is the news that you listen to. One of the things, and I've said this, you know, on other presentations, on other talks, is, you know, whatever you do, stay away from the news before you walk into an interview room, because it's the one thing that's going to have a really negative impact in terms of how are you going to show up. Because what you're going to see on the news is negative messaging. Because, you know, what works on the news is what bleeds is what leads, and there's really nothing positive and empowering there. It's all information around, you know, how bad the world is, you know, how we're in a crisis state. You know, if you watch CNN, they'll use the word crisis a lot. So you just got to be really careful with what you take in terms of information. One of the people I've had the privilege to train with and coach with is Tony Robbins. You know, I spent a whole year with him and really understanding what he does in terms of really mastering mindset. And he says, the only thing keeping you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. And these are the mindsets that we keep repeating over and over again. And I'm sure if you took a second and you think about, as you're going through the job search, you might be saying to yourself, you know what, it's really difficult to get a job up there. And if you carry that belief, what's going to show up is it's going to be really difficult. And what I've seen with the candidates that I've worked with, changing their mindsets in terms of what's out there will change how they start to see things. And, you know, they talk about in the brain, the reticular activating system, which is a little part of the brain that keeps an eye out for what's out there. And the example that a lot of people use, if you think about a car, you think about a Toyota Camry. You think about a Camry, and if you drive on the road and you think about a Camry, you're going to start to notice a lot of the Camrys. And you'll always notice what you're thinking about, what you're consciously and unconsciously thinking about. So what I'm going to invite you to do is just be conscious of your thoughts and what's happening here. So for this part, I've got a little exercise. It's only 2 minutes in length. I'm going to invite you to just to bring out a sheet of paper and a pen. And so I'm going to give you just 30 seconds to just grab a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Make sure it's not in a workbook. If it is in a workbook, tear out the page, because there's part of this exercise is, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like, but just take a blank sheet of paper and a pen, and we're going to write out some of those negative, disempowering beliefs that you might have around yourself. So, you know, do you have any limiting beliefs around there's no jobs out there? I don't have the skills and experience. That job isn't for me. Nobody wants to hire me. I'm never going to get the dream job that I want. Just take a second and just write it down. You know what, just things that are just popping into your head when it comes to job search, some of the limiting thoughts that you might have around job search. I'm just going to have you write them down, because what I'm going to show you next is going to hopefully blow your mind away in terms of taking these beliefs and just getting rid of them for once and for all. And what I'm going to do is also do the exercise along with you in terms of limiting beliefs. So I got a sheet of paper, just a pen. Some of my limiting beliefs around job search is, yeah, you know what? There are no jobs. It's a tough market. Nobody's hiring. And, nobody wants to hire me because, I got a skill that's pretty common and there's so many other candidates out there. There's tons of candidates out there searching for the same job. Whatever your limiting beliefs are, just write them down, just get them on paper. This is how, when you put paper to pen or pen to paper, it changes how you start to feel about things. And you get to visualize it in a written form. So just keep writing it down. Jobs, there's no jobs, nobody wants me, my experience isn't relevant, nobody's hiring in the Canadian market, everybody's looking for Canadian experience. And there's ways around that, and we'll speak to it a little bit, but just write down any sort of limiting beliefs you might have in and around job search. So I'm just going to give you another 20 seconds to do that. Just scribble, scribble, scribble. Don't worry about it. Just write down anything. If it's not legible, that's fine. But just as long as you know what's on paper, it's going to make a big difference in terms of what happens next. All right, good. Another 7 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So what I'm going to invite you to do now is take this paper, and what we're going to do is we're just going to fold it, just like this. And we're going to fold it up, and we're just going to tear it up. We're going to take these limiting beliefs, we're going to take them up, tear them up, and we're just going to get rid of them once and for all. Tear them up. And then what I'm going to invite you to do is just throw it away. Good, don't worry about it. We'll clean up the mess after this workshop, but take those limiting beliefs and just tear them up. What I'm going to invite you to do now is in the Q&A, how did that feel? What was that like for you? I'd love to get some of your feedback. Just drop me just drop me a line. Did you feel better after doing that? Did those limiting beliefs that you were carrying with yourself, did they just kind of release themselves a little bit? So just, if you can, drop a note in the Q&A or in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Liberating, excellent, thank you. Anybody else? How did that feel? What was that like for you? Did you feel a little bit better by just tearing up those limiting beliefs and just getting rid of them once and for all? Drop a one-liner in the chat just to let us know in the Q&A, just to let us know how it went for you. We'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it from you. Love the visual effect of torn paper on the floor. Excellent. Thank you. That was great. Anybody else? How did that feel for you? Do you feel a little bit more empowered? Do you feel a little bit stronger in terms of, and do you feel more excited about going out and doing the job search? Love to hear it. Empowering. Terrific. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. That's fantastic. So we got some more work, and I know I've got a few more minutes to go through this. So what's going to happen as you take these limiting beliefs, ideally what you're going to do is you're going to replace them with something new, because your mind is always searching, your mind is always working. And what we're going to do is we're just going to build up a positive affirmation. And really what an affirmation is the practice of positive thinking and self-empowerment, fostering a belief that positive mental attitudes supported by affirmations will achieve success in anything. One of the things I took on this year was reading this book, Personality Isn't Permanent, and it's written by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And he actually looks at just personality in general. And, he says personality isn't fixed. Personality is determined by the goals that you set out for yourself. And when you set big, audacious goals, you have to become a completely different person to get to those goals. It's just something that happens in the process. And if you think about your own personal journey, where you've been over the last 10 years and where you are right now, I'm sure you've changed and grown a lot more. And if you looked at your 10-year, if you looked at yourself 10 years ago, you would say, hey, you know what, I'm a lot different person. I know I am personally, just from where I was 10 years ago to where I am today, because of all the information I've taken in, all the studying that I've done, all the preparation that I've done. And I'm sure you've done the same. A lot of you have transitioned from one country to another. You guys are transitioning maybe through roles, and you're looking for jobs right now. So who do you really need to become to get those new jobs? Like who do you want to become to get those jobs? You want to be somebody who's confident, somebody who's certain, somebody who really understands what it takes to succeed. So Benjamin Hardy, this is one of his quotes from the book, is becoming psychologically flexible is the key to personal transformation. Not over-attaching to your current identity or perspectives, becoming insatiably committed to a future purpose and embracing emotions rather than avoiding them is how radical change occurs. And, you know, if I were to sum this all up, the one thing I've seen with some of the people I worked with is they carry these thoughts and ideas around, you know, this is who I am. I got all this education. Why do I need to struggle? Why do I need to fight for a job? Well, the reality is, you know, today's market, there's a lot of people that are out there looking for work. You just need to make yourself stand out. And, you know, based on the 2 strategies I've shared with you so far, they're going to help you do that. But with this next strategy, what we're going to do is really focus on, you know, building an affirmation to replace those limiting beliefs that you just set for you, those limiting beliefs that you just tore up for yourself. So how do you want to see yourself when you're in the interview room? One of the things he talks about in the book is, you know, think about your future self. You know, so future self doesn't have to be like 10 years out in the future. It could be a week out, you know, as you're sitting in an interview room or doing a virtual interview with a hiring manager. How do you want to see yourself? When you're in the room, do you want to see yourself empowered? Do you want to see yourself confident? Do you want to see yourself strong? Do you want to see yourself being the person who, you know, delivers their best at the interview? Somebody who's authentic, somebody who's genuine, and somebody who's sincere and really wants to add value to an organization. And as a hiring manager, and I've had, you know, managing experience in the past, one of the things I bring to the table is I know what it's like to sit across from candidates who are in the interview room. And the one thing I know is candidates who are successful bring a different type of mindset with them, and they have a certain belief about themselves. So how do you want to see yourself? So if you have a journal or a workbook, I'm just going to invite you to bring that out right now. And for the next 2 minutes, we're going to work on just building out a positive and strengthening affirmation. And these are just things of, you know, think about where you want to be in your next interview. How do you want to show up? How do you want to deliver your value to that organization? What I've listed here is just a couple of affirmations you might want to write down for yourself. Whether you have something else, add it in. What's really important when it comes to affirmations as well is you start with I am. So I am talented. Only great companies want to hire me. I am responsible for the life I create. I embrace challenges that make me stronger. The past is who I was, the present is who I am, and the future is who I may become. My vulnerability gives me strength and fuels my beliefs in me. And I love that last one, because the one thing, you know, when it comes to vulnerabilities, everybody wants to seem perfect. Everybody wants to seem like they're the ideal candidate. The truth is, you know, there's an author by the name of Brené Brown, and she talks about how vulnerability actually gives you strength. When you make mistakes or you have errors, you know, when you can acknowledge those things, it shows that you have a potential to grow because you have a potential to learn from them. So as you're going through the I am and you're writing out your affirmations, you know, I am the most valuable asset this organization can have. I am adding value to this company every day. I am a strong team member who focuses on developing and growing team members. And as I think about my own affirmations, and I do this every day, you know, just to share a secret with you, affirmations is something that I do every day. It's part of my daily routine. It's part of my practice, and I do it for an hour every day. You don't necessarily have to do it for an hour every day, but the one thing I do know is when you repeat these affirmations over and over, and you incorporate some of that body work that we talked about, you know, changing your physiology, and then reading out your affirmations, it's going to give it more strength and more power. So just as you build out your affirmations, just keep writing out, I am, I am, I am, I am. And then what I'm going to invite you to do, I have a little bit of homework, the challenge at the end to really take it and to grow this. So how is that? How is the affirmation piece for everybody? Just drop me a line in the chat. Great, I'm just kind of catching up on some of the messages in here, and I'm starting to see some changes, some radical changes happening in people. This is terrific. So what was that affirmation like? Did you feel like you got some affirmations that were empowering and strong for you? So if you can just put 1 or 2 notes in the Q&A, let me know how it went for you. Hi, excellent. So I see somebody said, I feel more confident. Terrific, I love it. And as you know, the one thing with these affirmations, just take it and post it somewhere out in front of you. You know, and just make it part of your daily routine. If I were to show you my room right now, you would see affirmation statements everywhere. It's kind of crazy, but you know, what you see and what you take in is what ends up becoming. So, you know, one of the affirmations I had years ago is I want to be a confident, speaker that adds value to the audience members that I speak to. And this is something that I've been working on for years. And, now it's true, hopefully I'm adding some value back to you guys as well. But the one thing I definitely wanted to feel was just more confidence in front of audience members, in front of people, and even going into interviews. The one thing I interview too, right? So I interview for jobs, I interview for speaking engagements. I'm also on the other side of interviewing, so I know what that's like. I feel like going for an interview right now. Terrific. I got somebody saying they feel empowered, which is fantastic. So thank you. So this fourth strategy, and this is one that has really been a game changer for me over the last 3 years. And it's really empowerment through silence. And you might be wondering, what does that mean, John? Like, what are you talking about, empowerment through silence? Well, empowerment through silence is really around the topic of, removing distractions and putting yourself into a state where you can just be. The one thing I've seen with candidates as they're going through the interview process, there's just so many things that are running through their head. And I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but in an interview room, you might be thinking about, well, I want to make sure I give the right response. I want to give the response that they want. I want to give the response that's going to make me look good. I want to give the response that they really want to hear. And what ends up happening is you're not actually in the conversation with the hiring manager on the other side of the table or on the other side of the screen. What ends up happening is your head's already thinking about what is the next question and what's the next answer. And what I'm letting you know, and the one thing that I found, not just for myself, but what I've studied in other successful people, is that they're just present. And how they get to presence is just through meditation. And meditation is just the practice is a practice where an individual uses a technique such as mindfulness or focusing the mind on a particular object, thought, or activity to train attention and awareness and achieve mental clarity and emotional calm and stable state. And when it comes to meditation, it's really just slowing down and just being clear in terms of thought. And what ends up happening is when you clear thoughts and you're in the room and you're doing that interview with the hiring manager, you are present in the room. And when they talk about presence, there's no other distractions. It's just you and the other person. It's just you having a conversation. It's just you sharing what you know around, sharing your job experience, sharing your knowledge, and just sharing what you have to bring in terms of value to the organization. So by taking a moment just to come down and just take a second to meditate, it's going to make a huge difference. What I have seen in terms of the benefits, there's 5 benefits. Actually, I went online and I looked for the benefits on meditation, and I found a site that had 120 different benefits. So I'm going to narrow it down to 5 that I think that is really relevant. Is, meditation allows you to have better focus and concentration. It improves your self-esteem and self-awareness. It reduces stress. And who doesn't want to reduce their stress as you're going into an interview? It's already pretty stressful. You feel like you got everything on the line and you have to make that really good impression. If you could just reduce that stress, what would that do for you and in terms of how you show up? What would that do for you in terms of how you present your information to the person on the other side of the table? I'm sure it would make a huge difference. It teaches, meditation will help you manage anxiety, depression. And what I see now, especially during COVID, is that more than ever, anxiety is at an incredibly high state because we're not connected with each other like we would normally be. And we're always wondering about what's going to happen next. And ideally, what you need to do is just be aware of what's happening right now. And if you do that, that's going to make a huge difference as well. And it's going to make you more kind and more loving. That's important because it ends up showing your genuine self in terms of what you have in terms of value. So one of the things I've done over the last couple of months, and if you get the opportunity to do this, on Netflix, there is a TV show or episodes called The Last Dance, and it talks about Michael Jordan and the Bulls. And the one thing I noticed with Michael Jordan was when he plays the game, he is totally in state. So he was, and here's a quote. He says, "I would tell players to relax, never think about what's at stake. Just think about the basketball game, be in the present. If you start to think about who's going to win the championship, you've lost your focus." And the goal is really just to be in the moment. So what I'm going to invite you to do now is I'm just going to invite you to just get comfortable. I got a 2-minute clip that I'm going to share with you. And we're just going to do a little meditation right now. Hope that's okay with you.
To begin this meditation, Find yourself in a relaxed, comfortable position, back upright if that's possible. And you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. And let's begin by noticing our feet on the floor. Just feeling the weight of your feet on the floor. There's a sensation of touch or heaviness, hardness, pressure. And then gently bring your attention up through your legs, feeling your legs against the chair or couch, wherever you're seated. You can notice your back up against the chair. There's hardness, pressure, warmth. Notice your stomach area. Is your stomach tense or tight? See if you can allow it to gently soften. Let your hands be soft. Notice your arms and shoulders, allowing them to soften. Notice your neck and throat and face. Soften your face and facial muscles. Let your jaw be soft. And just take this moment to be present here. Noticing all of these sensations in our bodies. Letting whatever is here be here. And then let's feel our feet on the floor once again. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes or end the meditation.
Hi, everybody. Let's bring it all back. Excellent. How was that? Hopefully you guys could hear the audio okay. How was that for you? How do you feel after just doing a short 2-minute meditation? And what I've learned from meditation experts is you don't need to spend hours and hours and hours on end doing meditation. 2 minutes a day is all you really need to do. And that will increase your focus and you'll start to reap the benefits. That's good for you. I'm very big on guided meditations. I need something or somebody to walk me through a meditation, and that's actually helped me do my focus. All right, excellent. So let's go into the final and fifth strategy, which is just done is better than perfect. And this is in and around just taking action. One of the things that I've seen, candidates who are successful are the ones that actually take action and do the things that they would not normally do. There's a famous quote by Dale Carnegie. He's written the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He says, knowledge isn't power until it's applied. So as we go through today and as you go through your job search process, are you applying all the different things that you're learning? And you don't necessarily need to apply everything. What I've seen in the years that I've taken courses and programs, all I'm really looking for is just one thing I don't know right now and one thing that could really help me. And, I've taken this philosophy into the books that I've read and the things that I've studied is always just take away one thing. And if you can do that, you can be incredibly successful. You don't need to take a million things away, just one thing. So ideally, just do it. When it comes to, just be present, just go out there and do what it is you need to do. I had the fortune of meeting an author by the name of Jensen Charo years ago. She is the author of the book, You Are a Badass, is the name of the book. And I, just in meeting her, I asked her, I've read your book 4 times. I read the book 4 times in a row because I found it so fascinating. And then having the opportunity to speak with her, I asked her, what's the one thing you really want me to take away from the book? And she said, John, just do scary shit all the time. And that actually is what she wrote on the inside cover of my book. So what I'm going to invite you to do in order to build your mindset, now that you feel a little bit more empowered, you feel a little bit stronger, do things, go out there and go do things that make you uncomfortable. And here's just a short list. And, one of the things I get to do with my clients, I get to give them homework And some of the homework I give them is, go out and message 5 CEOs of the top organizations that you want to work at. And it could be something that you just message them on LinkedIn, just send them a note, but make sure it's nicely constructed, and you're putting a note together that's offering some value back to them. What I also give in terms of homework is go engage with recruiters and hiring managers on LinkedIn. It's a great place. It is the business site when it comes to job search. Set up 5 informational interviews. And this is just where one of the things I'm very big on is just doing your research when it comes to your job search. So find people in organizations that you want to work at and set up informational interviews with them. 5-15 minutes, never ask them for a job. Just, find out all you can about the organization and what it has to offer you. The other thing I ask people to do is rewrite your resume for every job posting, or maybe not every job posting, but for the jobs that you really want. So what ends up happening is you narrow in your focus in your search, and you're only applying to roles that are relevant to your experience. And this is what's helped people get out of, just doing survival jobs and into jobs that they want, because that's where their focus is. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. And then the other thing is go read career blogs that motivate you and excite you and give you a lot of great information. So here's just a short list, but go things that make you uncomfortable. Now that you have a little bit more strength, a little bit more energy, a little bit more power, you can go out and you can do that. So your challenge, and here's my takeaway for all of you as we go through this, is I'm going to invite you to implement one of these strategies for the next 5 days, right? So whether it is just getting up every morning and doing your power pose, if it's getting up every morning and doing a few minutes of meditation, if it's getting up every day and just reaching out to 5 people in 5 organizations that you really want to work for, I'm going to invite you to just take one of these strategies and just try it for the next 5 days. And then what I'm going to invite you to do next is just journal about that experience. What was that like for you? Journaling is a big one. It's one that's really helped me over the years. I get through and I start to see my progression and growth because I'm actually capturing and writing it down. And then what I'm going to invite you to do is over the next 5 days or after the 5 days is to send me a note and let me know how it all works out for you. What I'm going to do is for the first 5 people to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will give you, and I'm doing this because it's COVID and I know people out there need some help, but I will give you a half-hour coaching session, a complimentary coaching session for the first 5 people that reach out and drop me a note in LinkedIn. And we get to work one-on-one and we get to share some of these strategies and some of these tools with you. But in that half-hour conversation, I can guarantee you're going to walk away feeling different, more confident, and more empowered. And how you do that is you got to connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn handle, linkedin.com, IN/Ribeiro John. I look like my picture, so you're going to see me, and I'm going to invite you to do that. What I also have is another bonus for all of you. One of the things that we've done is we've put a resume template together through my organization, the Canadian Job Search Academy. And if you go to gethiredincanada.com, you can get your free resume template for everybody else who wants a little bit of help in terms of resume writing. The one thing we've seen is a lot of people have been successful in this. Excellent. So now, Sonia, I think we can open it up to the Q&As. If there's any questions, I'd love to hear from people. I'll open it up to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John. It was a great, great presentation. I really enjoyed the meditation. So we're going to get to the questions. You can type them into the questions tab. I'm going to turn off the chat so that we're using the Q&A tab here.
Okay.
Okay, so what is an informational interview?
Informational interview. Great. So I've seen this question come in twice. So an informational interview is I'll try to describe it really simply. It's just where you set up a session with somebody to get information about either an organization or a role. And how are you going to do that? What we do with our clients is we get them to use LinkedIn to reach out to hiring managers and other organizations or organizations that they want to work for, and essentially connect with them. And then once you connect with them, what you do is you have some conversation going back and forth. One of the things you got to be careful of when it comes to informational interviews is you never go ask for a job in the first, actually you never ask for a job. What you do is you're there to do research and you're there to understand what it takes to join that organization. And what we've seen is once you start to build rapport and you start to build connection with somebody on the other side of the table, that's when people want to start working with you. They get to know you, you get to engage with them. And an informational interview, the way I do it, I set up a 15-minute meeting with people. And actually, I do this today. It's one of the methods that I use when I'm looking for a new podcast guests is I'll set up a quick 15-minute information session or informational interview with them to see, hey, is there a good connection between the two of us? Could we work together? And do we subscribe to the same values and beliefs? And if it answers all my criteria and the answers to my criteria are yes, a 15-minute conversation with them is all I need to really go in there and to be structured in terms of going in, making sure I have very specific questions that I want to ask them. And then I just wait for the responses. And what ends up happening in most cases, if the conversation's good, we normally go longer than 15 minutes. But the one thing I've always found is 15 minutes is enough time to get started. And if people are really enjoying the conversation on the other side of the table, we can keep going longer. And I've set up, one of my mentors today, I did the same thing. I set up an informational interview with her. And this was 4 years ago. And she was, you know, at the time, she was 4 levels above me. So she was a senior director in the organization. And I reached out to her just saying, hey, you know what, I wanted to connect with her because I had been following her for 2 years on LinkedIn. And what I saw, or in one of her posts, she mentioned that she connected with Steve Wozniak, who's the founder of Apple, and she had a photograph with him. So my gateway into getting that conversation going with her was, hey, I saw that you had a photograph with Steve Wozniak. I'd love to just hear about your experience, about what your experience was like in meeting him, one of the co-founders of Apple. I ended up setting up a 15-minute conversation with her, which led to an hour and a half. And now 4 years later, we meet up every 6 weeks and we have an hour and a half meeting just where we get to share ideas and share thoughts back and forth. And it all came from a 15-minute information session. So for myself, it's been incredibly valuable. So definitely something to think about.
Thank you, John. Is there any contact information that you have, a website or anywhere where people can get in touch with you or check out what's going on?
Yeah, so if they go to, so in the slides, you'll see gethiredincanada.com. It's one of the places that you can get more information about me. I'll also go back to to my LinkedIn slide because it's where, give me a second here. It's where people can connect with me as well. I'm very big. We do have a website as well called the Canadian Job Search Academy. But if you go through the Canadian gethiredincanada.com, people can get more information about me there and just about what we do and the type of information and blogs and stuff that we have out there.
Thank you. How can people get in touch with CEOs of companies to chat with them, or is that even a good idea?
Yeah, no, you can definitely do that. It's actually one of the challenges I did a couple of weeks ago with some of the clients that I work with is you go look for them. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I'll share 2 strategies with you today. One is using LinkedIn. Just look for the title CEO, Chief Executive Officer for the organization. That's one way to find them. The other way to find them is depending on the industry that you're in, there is most likely a association tied to that industry. So if you're an engineer, there is, engineering associations. If you're an IT professional, there's IT associations. Just do a search. Like Google is your friend. You know, Google is one of the most underrated. It's not the only. Google isn't only used for finding recipes and locations of things. You can also find information around executives, senior executives inside of organizations, and use that tool to really niche in terms of the people that you want to connect with. So find associations. So LinkedIn and associations. Is it a good idea to connect with them? What I've seen, in the years that I've been doing this, people who reach out to executives or senior executives inside of organizations and do it in a way that's friendly, authentic, and genuine, but never asking for a job, will sometimes, there's about a 75% chance you're going to get some sort of response from that executive. And if you do get a response, what might happen is, depending on how the conversation goes back and forth with them, maybe in your third or fourth conversation, you can say, hey, I've seen a posting inside your organization. I would love to have the opportunity to show what I could do for you guys if you could offer me that opportunity. And what we have seen is executives have passed down information to their HR recruiting or the hiring manager of that particular position. And because of that, people have gotten interviewed. So is it a good idea? Listen, if you're genuine, you're authentic, and you're not asking for anything, yes, it's a great idea. But if you're going to go in there asking for a job, or if you're just going to go demanding for things, and what I've seen, even on LinkedIn, people are always saying, hey, here's my resume, can you give me something? And I'm like, I don't know you yet. I don't have any sort of relationship with you. And what we find in the Canadian market, referrals go a long way. And if you can build a relationship with somebody, then you'll get the referral. And if you get the referral, then you're more likely to get the interview as well. So to answer your question, I know that was a little bit long, but it's yes, go reach out to executives inside of organizations. Make sure you do it in a way that is polite, it's courteous, but it's also professional, right? So some of the things to think about.
Thank you, John. I know we're a little cramped for time here, but let's just do one more question.
Sure.
How can you find out about opportunities in companies that are inside the companies and haven't been published yet?
So they call this the hidden job market. How you find out about them is through, using the approach of connecting to executives and hiring managers inside of those organizations. What I've seen with a lot of folks is really establishing and building relationships with people inside those companies. And what'll happen is if your profile, and I want you to think about this, before you start reaching out to people, make sure you've done the work, right? So make sure your resume is where it needs to be. That's one. And number two, make sure your LinkedIn profile is where it needs to be as well. And your LinkedIn profile displays you in the best way possible. It talks about your skills, it shows what your expertise is, and it's very focused on the type of work that you do, right? Because the one thing I've seen with candidates as I'm looking through their profiles is, they try to keep it general so it speaks to many different roles. And ideally, you don't want to do that. You want to have it niche in so it focuses on one role. And what I know in the Canadian market is if you specialize, and you'll see it, right? Like if you go to company organizations, if you go to organizational websites, whether it's TD or RBC, they will always have something in their about section that tells you what they specialize in. So if they're specializing in things, in the financial sector or in investments, you should be specializing in something as well. So yes, so hopefully that kind of answers your question, but yeah, just make sure that you specialize in terms, just make sure you're ready to present yourself when you start reaching out to people so they can learn a lot about you.
Thank you so much, John. That was a great presentation, and I'm going to just steal the screen from you. And
Sure.
As I'm doing that, maybe you want to share some closing remarks?
Yes. No, thank you, Sonia. It's, again, as you're going through your job search, just to reinforce what I talked about earlier, bringing in a positive mindset. Some of you, in the short time that we spent together, and none of our exercises were longer than 2 minutes, it's stuff that you can apply to your daily routines as you go through your job search. But if you spend the time and effort doing that, you'll start to see the results. And this is personally, I've benefited immensely just from having these things that I work, things that I do myself. So I wouldn't share anything I don't necessarily do for myself. But the results are outstanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wish you all the best. Take one of those strategies, implement it for the next 5 days. And for the first 5 people to reach out to me, you get a coaching session one-on-one with me. So I wish you all the best and good luck, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. That was great information, and I won't hold everybody for too long, but just to let you know, please sign up for our next webinar coming up on Thursday, September 17th, which is tomorrow, if you're interested in getting a loan as a newcomer to I guess it's for education, and they will cover more. And as I mentioned, all of our programs are being held online currently. Our webinars are posted on our website. If you want to practice speaking English, you want to practice your English conversation skills, check out Talk English Cafe. We've doubled up our sessions due to popular demand, so sign up for that as well on our website. And for people who are on their way to Canada in the next few months and you have your PRs, email cec@accessemployment.ca to see if we can start helping you with your job search before you land. And again, please fill out the survey after the webinar. Get in touch with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And thank you very much. I wish you all the best with your job search. And thank you very much, John, again.
Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate it. And good luck, everybody.
Yep. Everyone have a great day ahead.